Welcome back to Zero to Hero, the series where we teach you how to teach yourself how to play Pokemon VGC, from the basics to the complex. Today's topic is abilities. At any given time, each Pokemon has only one ability, but each Pokemon has access to up to 3 different abilities. Every Pokemon species has either 1 or 2 standard abilities, and many Pokemon have access to a third ability called a hidden ability. Most abilities are found on more than one Pokemon, and the slot they're found in, either standard or hidden, is really just arbitrary. Abilities can do a variety of things, from lowering your opponent's stats, to granting type or status immunity, changing the weather, increasing stats, comboing with held items, and more. Since abilities can work completely differently than other abilities, due to the sheer amount of them, this video will be going over the most common abilities in VGC and common Pokemon that use them. By far, the most common ability in VGC is Intimidate. Whenever a Pokemon with Intimidate switches in, it lowers both opponents' attack by 1 stage. Part of what makes this so strong is just the easy access of simply switching in, the value from dropping both opponents' stats, and the fact that this can be used more than once in a battle by switching out and switching back in. Common Pokemon with this ability are Arcanine, Gyarados, Incineroar, and Landorus Therian. Intimidate was so strong that some abilities were buffed to grant the user immunity to Intimidate specifically. Inner Focus is the most common of these, since it also grants immunity to being flinched. Oblivious and Scrappy also grant immunity to Intimidate. Oblivious also gives the user immunity to Taunt and Infatuation. Scrappy also allows the user to hit Ghost types with normal infighting moves. Dragonite, Mienshao, and the 3 legendary dogs all have Inner Focus. Mamoswine and Dondozo are sometimes seen with Oblivious, and Kangaskhan was a common Scrappy user in the past. Clear Body prevents the user from having any of its stats dropped by an opponent, making it immune to Intimidate, but not Intimidate specifically, as this Pokemon is also immune to other moves or things that may drop their stats. Self-stat drops are not prevented with this ability. Metagross and Dragapult are common Clear Body Pokemon. Defiant will increase the user's attack by 2 stages if any of its stats are dropped. Competitive works the same way, but raises special attack instead. Annihilate and King Gambit are common Defiant Pokemon, and Melodic and Galarian Articuno are common competitive Pokemon. Prankster is a VGC staple. It gives the user +1 priority on all status moves that they use. Remember that Dark types are immune to Prankster boosted moves. Common Prankster Pokemon are Whimsicott, Tornadus, Thundurus, and Grimmsnarl, and some less common ones are Sableye, Illumise, Volbeat, Murkrow, and Klefki. Weather setting abilities. The abilities Drizzle, Drought, Sandstream, and Snow Warning will set a weather condition when the user is switched in. Rain, Sun, Sand, and Snow, respectively, are set for 5 turns. We'll go over weather and terrain in detail in another guide. Rain and Sun are more common than Sand, and Snow is the least common. Pelipper and Politoed are common Drizzle users, while Kyogre is common in restricted formats. Torkoal is the most common Drought user, with Ninetales as a runner-up. Groudon and Koraidon are also seen in restricted formats. Koraidon's ability, Aurichalum Pulse, sets the sun, but it also increases his attack in the sun. Tyranitar is by far the most common Sandstream user, while Gigalith has seen some use in regional formats. Alolan Ninetales is the most common Snow Warning user, with Abomasnow also seeing niche use. There are abilities that double the user's speed in each weather condition, these being Chlorophyll for Sun, Swift Swim for Rain, Sand Rush for Sand, and Slush Rush for Snow. Kingdra and Ludicolo have had the most use as a Swift Swim user in the past, but it's one of the most common abilities in the game, so other Pokemon like Basculegion and Golduck have it as well. Venusaur and Lilligant are common Chlorophyll Pokemon, with good special attacking options, and with some good fast status options. Excadrill is by far the most common Sand Rush user, but Pokemon like Dracozolt and Dracovish have also been seen using Sand Rush in the past. Slush Rush is relatively uncommon, but it's seen on Alolan Sandslash and Satitan. There are also 4 terrains, which also have corresponding abilities that set them on switch-in for 5 turns, just like the weathers. Grassy Surge, Psychic Surge, Misty Surge, and Electric Surge set Grassy Terrain, Psychic Terrain, Misty Terrain, and Electric Terrain respectively. Terrains all affect grounded Pokemon, and each have quite a few specific effects. Again, these will be elaborated on in the weather or terrain guide. In the meantime, Rillaboom, Indeedee, Tapu Lele, Tapu Fini, Tapu Koko, and Miraidon are the most common terrain setters. Similar to Koraidon's attack boost in the sun, Miraidon gets a special attack boost in electric terrain. Paradox Pokemon have one of two abilities: Photosynthesis for past Paradox Pokemon, and Quark Drive for future Paradox Pokemon. They grant the user a boost to their highest stat when either in the sun or electric terrain. Alternatively, if the user is holding the booster energy item, it will consume the item to grant the boost, regardless of what the weather or terrain is. The boost will be 30% unless it's speed, in which case it will be 50%. HP is not boosted by these abilities. Some common past Paradox Pokemon are Fluttermane, Raging Bolt, and Great Tusk, while the two most common future Paradox Pokemon have been Iron Bundle and Iron Hands. Some abilities block priority moves. These all function the same, but there's 3 of them. From the most common to least common, they are Armor Tail seen on Farigiraf, Queenly Majesty seen on Sarina, and Dazzling seen on Bruxish. And many abilities do the same thing as other abilities, but they just have a different name, mostly for flavoring. These next few abilities aren't as common, but we do see them here and there, so we'll go through them rather quickly. Protean and Libero do the same thing. Once per switch in, when the user attacks, it will change their type to the attack just used, giving them a stab boost on it. Storm Drain and Lightning Rod draw in water and electric moves respectively to the user, granting the user a special attack boost and immunity to damage of that type. Friend Guard is seen on Clefairy and Vivillon, and it will reduce the damage their partner takes by 25%. Regenerator is seen on Amoonguss and Ho-Oh, and it will restore 1/3 of their max HP when they switch out. Guts boosts the user's attack by 50% if they're inflicted by a status condition. This also ignores the attack drop from the burn status condition. Conkeldurr and Ursaluna are relatively common Guts users. Levitate grants the user immunity to ground attacks, and they're also considered not grounded, so they're not affected by any of the terrain effects. Flame Body and Static have a 30% chance to burn or paralyze any Pokemon that hits the user with a contact move. Good as Gold makes Goldengo immune to all status moves, and Purifying Salt makes the user immune to all status conditions, but not all status moves. As you can see, there's a huge variety of abilities, but keeping these basic ones in mind will help you get started. I highly recommend the site Cerebi.net for any specifics on how abilities work, and also which Pokemon have which ability. Bulbapedia can be a useful resource for more niche interactions between abilities. Thanks for watching.